JonTron's StarCade, Episode 7, the Star Wars Plug and Play.
This is a Millennium Falcon with games on it. I got one thing to tell you about that.
Just take all my money. No, not this soon, not this soon.
Jax Pacific, a company well known for making these plug-and-play games, also produced merchandise for Star Wars. It makes sense, given how popular these were. I never understood who these were truly meant to appeal to. People who didn't know better? This came out in 2006, and the graphics look pre-Super Nintendo. What you're looking at here is...
Well, you have to understand, of the era, I mean, this was kind of the thing. We had, small TVs, box TVs, right? This was really before LCDs and stuff. Flat screens were widespread. We had full-on box TVs with, little VCRs in them. And there were SpongeBob themes ones, and there were, Spider-Man themed ones. And there was such a push on just, super unique marketing like that you just don't see nowadays, right? Well, not only do you see VCRs nowadays, right? Because for all intents and purposes, antiquated technology, there's probably people that watch my content that go, what's a VCR? What's a VHS? And it makes me just kind of sad inside, makes me shrivel up a little bit inside. But that was kind of the marketing of the era. You had, SpongeBob popsicles. You had, things that were very IP dependent. Everything had a trading card game at one point in time. That has kind of been replaced by apps at that point. And really, we just see that it's just not really effective anymore. It's much easier to have a standard black rectangle, black joystick with maybe a red top and have the same product that has these same games in it. It's just too much cost and detriment in a logistical sense to really have anything like this anymore. This is very of the era, though. There are so many things that did
literally
this.
From the same year as Gears of War. Think about that.
Wild.
You guys couldn't fit a few more instruments in there?
No.
Sounding a bit sparse. Perhaps the console was too small.
Actually, on that point, if you're trying to add soundtracks, you're trying to add your own custom music to things like Fire Red and Leaf Green, like Pokemon, there's actually a limitation on how much you can add. There's actually a set number of... There are technical terms to this. I don't actually remember what they are, but of channels, right? And 4 of them I think are used at any specific time for battle effects and stuff like that. So you're down to I think 6 or 7 channels, and that's where you have to make your music. And it's very interesting to have the process explained of trying to create your own Nintendo GameCube Pokemon music explained to you, because there's stuff that goes into that, and it absolutely could just be hardware limitations of the time.
To be honest, I don't know how you'd fit more than one trumpet in here, let alone one. First up is Lightsaber Duel. Oh, no high scores? Well, you telling me people weren't fighting over this thing like the olden samurai trying to be number one?
Nah.
I'm getting too old for this sort of thing.
Old for what kind of thing exactly? Fighting your friends? I don't understand. Why is this the default? Obi-Wan and Luke is the first fight? Hey guys, you want to wait to beef this out till after you defeat the Empire? They're still flying around in the background, free as birds. When you eventually do get to fight Vader, he just breathes nonchalantly over your fight. Oh, come on, dude, don't fight dirty! Not fair! Next up, Battle of Endor. Hey, where's that battle at? I just see a bunch of people crashing headlong into trees. Is it the battle against drunk driving? Perhaps the battle is in the distance and we're driving to it. Let's see here. Oh, that's much better. This game is actually reminiscent of another pre-existing game, Return of the Jedi Arcade from back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Wonderful. We are now a part of the time.
3PO, you're just gonna come out and say that? Eventually, you get to a part where you're an ATST walking around shooting everyone. It's pretty great because no one else stands a chance and winning is fun. The third stage is just Falcon stuff, pretty standard. Next on the list, Assault on Hoth. Whew. Well, this seems like a lot of work to give to one guy. I'd be pretty...
We never claimed that these were quality games. A lot of the plug-and-play things were either things to push older games. For example, I had a plug-and-play console once upon. It was an Atari version of it. It had Dig Dug and stuff on it. And that's what you pay for. You pay for some of these older games, usually in the absence of a console. And that's what you get. You kind of get re-releases. It wouldn't be super different than, say, if Nintendo were to make like an NES plug and play, and you had your joystick, little NES on top of a box or something like that. It came in one, right? And you just plug in the power, plug in the AV cords, and you suddenly can play Legend of Zelda. You can play Link's Awakening. You can play the original Mario, right? That's kind of the concept at play here. Much like Animal Crossing had the NES machines in it, right? Where you could go ahead and play like Balloon Fight, Donkey Kong, etc. So these weren't necessarily supposed to be things that were pushing the market, like Gears of War, which, God, looking at that, oh my God, I totally forget about Color Palette Public Restroom every time I think about that era. And then I think about it and I'm like, wow, everything was just super saturated to be brown and gray. It was a rough time in gaming. But we didn't really go to any of this for content pushing, game breaking stuff. This wasn't AAA in any capacity. Although honestly, some of this probably is more stable than modern AAA. Am I right?
Stressed out if I were him. Like they couldn't spare one more guy? I guess that Alliance-paid free tuition is looking a lot less attractive by the minute, eh, buddy? Occasionally, a guy flies by and drops off a coin. The coin is great and all, but I would have preferred a little help holding off the onslaught of my inevitable doom. Heyo, how you doing? Here's this shit. See ya! And lastly is Red Leader, which is just a standard shoot-'em-up.
Yeah.
There also exist prequel versions of these games that came in 3 stylings: Darth Vader, R2-D2, and General Grievous. These 3 all...
I keep saying this. I wonder how expensive these are now. Like, we're not looking at any of these for being game-changing by any means, right? We're not expecting anything game-changing, anything super box-breaking. God, these have got to be expensive, though, because everything 2020 plus got super expensive. And that's not just an inflation thing. That is I was actively playing Pokemon Sword and Shield at that time. I actually still have my ADP deck somewhere, Arceus Dialga Palkia. And it was Zacian ADP was specifically the deck at the time. And I remember that you couldn't buy ETBs anywhere. You couldn't buy packs anywhere. Singles went through the roof. And, the Pokemon company just couldn't keep up because it takes time like that to print product and to ship product. And so thus you have a lapse in product. Now I'd argue an overabundance of product because everything's so expensive. ETBs used to be like $40. They're like, what, 60 now USD? It's wild. Things like that. A lot of things got expensive that shouldn't. And it's just wild to think about. Stuff like this has so much personality. Imagine, if you will, Xbox came out with a General Grievous controller like this, right? Like it was an Xbox controller. You had the ABXY, you had the D-pad, you had the C-stick, you had this stick, right? Select, and then you had your Xbox button. But you had like Grievous over this, right? Or Vader. Do you know like how cool that would be? But going back to why the plug and plays were kind of a thing, right? It would cost too much. Not just the licensing, but it would cost too much logistically, and it wouldn't be sustainable for them. They wouldn't consider the profits that good on that because of the manufacturing costs, which is a far cry because stuff like this, from what I'm used to, because stuff like this, stuff like a SpongeBob TV with VCR that functioned, right, is stuff that I grew up with and stuff that I was like, yeah, no, companies tried to push products because they tried to, yes, it was marketing, it was cheesy marketing, but they tried to market it. Now it's just, here, have your cookie cutter thing. This is the second Elite Series 2 controller I have where the right bumper just refuses to work sometimes. It gets a little sad after a while.
I have the same games on them, just different casings. Some rarer than others.
Yeah.
First up is Coruscant Attack. Yeah, okay, I'm seeing Attack. Not so sure about Coruscant. This game kind of reminds me of the 1982 arcade game Sinistar, if any of you even know what that is.
Kinda.
Sinistar always freaked me out.
I am Sinistar. Run, run, run.
I tell you what, if you threw in a giant Darth Vader head that chased you and yelled catchphrases, you'd have yourself a bona fide winner here.
Amazing.
Your destiny lies with me, Skywalker.
There's Droid Invasion, which is basically some weird version of Arkanoid.
That's wild.
Thrilling. And Gunship Battle, which is basically just nothing. Just nothing at all, basically. I don't even know how this ship stays in the air. Oh, and excuse me, how could I forget? Utapau Chase. The only chase that's going to be happening here is the one from my money back.
You have to understand, it was the novelty of this at the time. Not all games were absolute certified bangers. I mean, there was stuff like a very niche title that some of you may or may not remember, 99 Nights. Infi had the drip, is what I'm going to say. 99 Nights was an Xbox 360 game I had once upon a time. It was a weird game. Like, I understood what it was doing. The grind game was just excessive. The leveling just was, I don't know, and I could have done it, you know. I don't know, this is the same era that I 100%ed Dead Space 2's hardcore run and 100% of Dynasty Warriors Gundam 3. So, like, I had some skill. There's something about that game that didn't quite sit right with me. And it was rough to try to go for that completion. Not all games were absolute certified bangers. And people, even to this day, you know, people will still say, you know, well, you know, Force Unleashed, you know, wasn't necessarily a good game, or Force Unleashed this, just from a Star Wars perspective, right? Or people, I don't know, it's weird, because even we have, like, people 8 years later just complaining about Halo 5. It's so strange. But the games that were good, they stuck with you. Games like Episode 1 Racer, which we've already covered in the series. Things like Battlefront 2, the old one. EA's Battlefront 2 was interesting. I played that week one. That was rough. So these weren't exceptional by any means, but they were part of that marketing experience, that part of marketing web, that content web, if you will, of Star Wars, and it helped you immerse your things. This, you know, was an easy way for, say, your dad in the era to have fun with video games in a medium that he understood, or have a parent or sibling that maybe didn't play games but understood Star Wars to be able to play this, or for people like me who missed the Dig Dug days to go back and play Dig Dug. That's kind of what these were. These are effectively a novelty. Gaming still took place really on PC at this time, but PC had an interesting buy-in point in this era, and it was starting to become more affordable and starting to do things that outpaced Xbox and PlayStation. But really, you were going with a GameCube into a Wii, or you were going with a DS, or you were going with an Xbox 360 or a PlayStation 3. I mean, like, that's where you were playing games, and that's really kind of where the experience lays.
Yeah? Okay, what? Huh? All right. Well, that's enough of that now. This one has 5 games instead of 4, the last one being Grievous Onslaught. It's okay. I think you're going around as Anakin, just slashing droids left and right. I assume you're here to save Chancellor Palpatine, like in the film. It's funny, whenever you're about to save the Chancellor, he gets sucked into the floor. Okay, now on to the one.
You know, I think that actually could make a good mobile game for them, though. Like, hear me out on this, right? Like, you just have a wave defense game like that, and you have, you know, some sort of minimalistic controls, or maybe some sort of UI overlay, like a bunch of emulators have. If you look at, like, a Pokemon emulator, how you got your directional buttons, you got your start and select, you got your AB, right? And so things like that, right? Or you've got a minimalistic overlay or some kind of skill buttons, and your goal is to just wave defense. Grats, it's Bloons Defense, but Star Wars. Slap the label on that, get some people on that, make absolute bank, right? Like, I could totally see where, like, even modern Disney with Star Wars could actually go ham on this. That being said, I mean, that, you know, does that necessarily mean that Star Wars and Disney are still on the right path? I don't know. That's something for really Lucas and people that are, you know, just far more qualified to discuss than I am. I enjoy the series. I enjoy the films. Not so much how hollow it's become in certain aspects.
With the peripherals. This one's called Lightsaber Battle
I remember these.
How long do you think it took them to come up with that?
Never had
one. The way it works is this training droid here, I guess, has infrared sensors or something in it, so you just haphazardly put it on top of something and use the saber to play the game. Now, where is that thing? Oh, yeah?
It's not.
Where'd the other half of it go? This thing is so stubby. I think it might have been packaged for the, wrong purpose.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean?
Oh, no.
Oh, you know what I mean.
Someone has. Someone absolutely has. I don't even have to question that. A VTuber probably has, actually, now that I think about it. That's a sobering thought. A VTuber probably did. No, I will not elaborate further.
X-Wing docking, right this way, Mr. Skywalker, sir!
Exactly that.
Now, this is amazing. I've always wanted to input my name with a lightsaber. Or wait, hold on. I think I actually have done that in the past.
It's gonna be a butterfly. butterfly, right?
And that's it. You're mine now. It's over. No take-backs.
Right off the bat, once again, you're training against Obi-Wan. Now listen closely, the tactic you use here is very advanced. What you do is you wait for the poor man's Parkinson's to all-encompassingly overwhelm him, at which point you whack him as hard as you can multiple times before he comes back to reality.
I tried this tactic on my grandpops to get him to stop drinking and throwing stuff, but all he did was scream.
You know, surprisingly, this is pretty fun. Although, it probably feels a lot cooler in my head than how it actually looks. But who cares, right? Fun is fun.
No, it's a cool novelty, 100%. Like, this is super cool as a novelty thing. And, I mean, it's not hard to package something like that on, say, like, a Kinect or something like that. I don't know. Well, no, because, so I was thinking, like, Duck Hunt, right? Duck Hunt had kind of a similar thing, but that's because that worked with, was it CRT TVs? And that's how the infrared worked. But, I mean, you just have your little peripheral, and really, you could piggyback that on any modern sort of Bluetooth, maybe not Bluetooth, like any modern infrared thing. Like Kinect was a thing, right? Kinects are actually being used for VTuber tech, from my understanding, because of just how good they are for that purpose. And this wouldn't be a hard sell for them. I think people would call them shills, but I mean, in anything, people are going to call you a shill. I can put out this video, and people are going to call me a shill because I react to content, right? Despite it being a React channel. I don't know. Like, it's so interesting to go back and see these products. And I do like that John did this series because it shows just how much ground was covered in this. Like, how deep this rabbit hole went. And how really we've really kind of fallen off that train now that I think about it. What did we have in the past 10 years, right? We had EA Battlefront 1 in, like, what, 2015? Battlefront 2... I don't really. Well, we had Rogue Squadron. No, not Rogue Squadron. We had that one flight game that I don't remember, and nobody else seems to remember. That was kind of fun. It's a far cry from how many games were made for this franchise, though. Back in the day, it really seems like it's all movies and series at this point, which is rather unfortunate. Or rather fortunate considering modern AAA gaming.
I'm real!
This next one is called Star Wars Clone Trooper. This one is a rail shooter type game. It comes with this gun. Alright, so you calibrate your gun, let it know if you're satisfied, and presto, begin. Plan on picking up the pace?
These
Get
graphics,
this, the first loading screen when you boot the thing up takes 50 seconds alone.
Wild.
Doesn't that somewhat diminish the plug and play aspect? Well, after all this loading, I better be blown away with some serious stuff.
That frame rate.
Is that it then? What exactly were you loading all that time?
Yeah.
This looks like it predates the transistor radio! It's okay, though. Everyone knows this game was meant to honor the life of legendary actor Christopher Lee, as seen here pictured on his cosmic Vespa.
I love that,
And now,
man.
sir, I give you the 21 Blaster salute.
Rest in peace, you legend.
Oh, sorry, dude.
Oh, this came out after, didn't it? Oh no. I was actually on Lord of the Rings Online the day he unfortunately passed. There were so many people just in Lord of the Rings Online chatting in world chat about that, and it was super wholesome, actually. Like, that's the thing that I continue to just not understand, is we push this model of masculinity that's like, you have to be like Andrew Tate, you have to be like Sneeko, you have to follow this alpha male logic, when Christopher Lee literally exists. Like, dude was like, what, making a Christmas metal album in his 80s? Not to mention things that he may or may not have done in a certain historical war. Right? And he had to have that conversation with Peter Jackson on, no, this is what it sounds like. And Peter Jackson just looks at him and is like, yeah, I'm not going to argue with that. That's a man. Just, I don't know. Every time I see those clips on YouTube of just like the kid going up to his teacher, just like, I'm the alpha, I need the grade, I need the A. I can't help but laugh. Like, it's sad to a degree, but I can't help but laugh. No, there are absolutely people in this, in the world, that are much better male role models. And not saying do the things that Christopher Lee did, but look at how much of a legend this dude was, and understand why he was a legend. why people regard him as just absolutely next level. Best question you can ask in life is why.
I'm not trying to... Oops. God damn it. I'm trying to salute you. My aim's really off. I'm sorry. This is out of love. All right, we got one left. I'm not expecting much after all this. The whole thing is just contained in this cockpit joystick. No sensor bar or anything. Whoa! What? It's not terrible? Hey, cool. Color me impressed.
That's
This
kind
is
of cool.
probably the best plug-and-play game I've ever played.
Yeah?
Responsive, fluid, and the graphics are in full 3D. I'm surprised this little thing is powering all that. I guess the age-old adage is true after all. The greatest surprises come in the smallest and most unassuming of packages. But hey, at least I have a good personality. This reminds me, I've been meaning to plug and play myself for a while now.
Yeah.
Not this one. It's terrible. The first 18 levels are easy, and then mom and dad stopped caring.
Oh no! Wild. Awful. That was amazing. I know that I added a little more to this. I'm trying to find a healthy balance between streamlining it to keep people engaged and not, 5x the length of a video. But there was a lot to say in this one, actually. And I feel like a little bit of an explanation is in order, where I miss a time where this was a thing. I miss the time where you got to see your plug and plays. You got to see, peripherals and stuff like this. You got to see, your, Darth Vader controllers. You got to see your SpongeBob TVs. You got to see your little lightsaber peripherals. You got to see that, like the last controller, right? You got to see all that. We don't see that anymore. And, really going into the, next generation of consoles after the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, we really saw a just starting lack of artistic ingenuity, where we had things on the PlayStation 3 like massive action game, for those that remember. I never played it. I wanted to. 128 people in a lobby, was it not? Like, where's that nowadays? That's how you compete with a battle royale. Just make a mag. Make a mag that's good, that justifies it as a live service and justifies transactions, right? People complain about transactions, microtransactions in games consistently, but also the people walking up looking like Commander Shepard in Destiny, right? Where they buy the full pack. There's nothing wrong with it if it's cosmetic, and if you like it, you like it. It's justifying yourself. And we really started to see just a lack of games like Dynasty Warriors Gundam. And we had a couple on the PlayStation 4, but we had less. We started to see less games like 99 Nights going into the Xbox One era. We started to see things like Titanfall, and started to see things like Advanced Warfare as a response to Titanfall in a sense. And I miss this era of gaming. So when I talk about this, it's from a perspective of I lived it and I miss it. I miss seeing things like this. And I understand the reasons why. It's expensive to manufacture stuff like this. It's not ideal for companies to shell out for not only licensing, but extra little bits and odds, right? Getting Grievous on a controller like that is much harder than getting, say, an Empire or a Republic logo stamped on an Xbox One controller that's already ready to go. They just have to change the manufacturing a little bit to maximize profits. I understand the reasons. I can lament that just this isn't the case anymore. That everything is so cookie cutter, ready to go, and we don't really have people nowadays that are going to experience the same things I did. So there was a lot to talk about in this, and I wanted to explain that. The reason I'm talking about a lot of that is familiarity and that sense of understanding why that's not a thing anymore, and why we probably won't see it again unless something happens and, things change. But I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on plug and plays. Let me know if you think I'm on base with that discussion. Let me know if I'm off base on this. Do you like Chatty Kip? Do you think that Chatty Kip is a little too distracting? I'm doing my best to streamline as much as possible. It's just not always working. And I really do appreciate everyone that comes out and watches this. I had a lot of fun with this. Thank you, John, for putting out an excellent video on this. and me subsequently ruining it by 3xing the video. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. Go check out John if you haven't. Have a good one, everybody.